The axe bites into the ancient tree, releasing not sap, but a spray of blood. The logger screams as a child's face forms into the split bark, eyes blinking, mouth gasping for air. Tiny hands, half wood, half flesh, reaching from the wound, clutching desperately at empty space. From the forest depths, a chorus of heartbeats erupts, each hollow tree pulsing in grotesque union. The village trembles as dozens of tiny footprints, all walking backward, converge towards the village. Elder Mensa collapses, wooden roots erupting from his skin. "They're coming," he gasps, dark fluid trickling from his eyes. He grabs his grandson's wrist, revealing wooden patterns already spreading beneath the young man's skin. "They already taste your heart. Run, Kwabena, run!" The night was heavy with secrets when Kwabena returned to Mmotia village. The funeral drums had barely faded into memory, yet already the weight of his parents' death pressed hard against his chest. His grandfather, Elder Mensa, the village's most revered herbalist, stood in the doorway of his compound, eyes gleaming in the darkness. "Abuabi bekawa, na ifri wuntumemu," Elder Mensa said, his voice grave and somber. "When an insect bites you, it will come from your own cloth." Kwabena dropped his city bags on the dirt. "My parents didn't die in an accident, is that what you're saying?" "The forest gives and takes, grandson. Your university education won't help you understand that." Kwabena's jaw tightened. 5 years studying pharmaceutical science, a promising career waiting in Accra, all abandoned because of his parents' sudden accident and the ancestral obligation to learn his grandfather's craft. "I'm not staying long," Kwabena declared. "Just until..." "Until what?" Elder Mensa stepped closer, the wooden amulet around his neck glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Until you've learned enough of my secrets to put them in your little pills? The knowledge I carry cannot be measured in milligrams, boy." Their standoff was interrupted by frantic pounding at the compound gate. A woman burst through, carrying a limp child in her arms. "Elder, please! My son, he burns with fever. The hospital in town says it's too late, but I know you can help him, Elder, please!" The old man's demeanor changed instantly. "Bring him inside." Kwabena followed them into the healing hut, where herbs hung from every rafter. Elder Mensa worked with practiced precision, grinding roots and barks while muttering incantations. But when the mixture was nearly complete, he stopped. "What we need isn't here," he said gravely. "Kwabena, stay with them. I must go to the forest." "At this hour? Let me come with you." "No!" The force of his grandfather's response made Kwabena step back. "You are not ready. The deep grove is forbidden to you, not yet." When Elder Mensa returned an hour later, his eyes were different, wider, as if he had seen something beyond human comprehension. The cure he prepared worked miraculously, and by morning, the boy was laughing again. But Kwabena had noticed something disturbing during the healing. His grandfather's hands had momentarily transformed into wooden tendrils when preparing the final medicine. When questioned, Elder Mensa merely smiled. "The forest lives in me now, as it will live in you someday." That evening, while searching through his parents' belongings, Kwabena discovered a hidden journal filled with his mother's handwriting. The final entry chilled him. "Father has promised another child to them. The backward-footed ones took payment for my life years ago, but the price was too high. Kwabena was meant to be theirs, but father couldn't bear it. He substituted another boy. Now they're coming to collect what they're owed. We must stop this before..." The entry ended abruptly. "Looking for something?" Kwabena jumped, shoving the journal under a cloth as Elder Mensa appeared in the doorway. "No, just..." Remembering, his grandfather's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Tomorrow, your training begins at dawn. Rest now." But sleep didn't come. Outside Kwabena's window, the forest seemed to whisper names into the wind. Names he could faintly. The marketplace buzzed with activity as Kwabena gathered supplies for his grandfather. The old man's reputation ensured respect from everyone. Fearful respect. "You're Mensa's grandson, aren't you?" A young woman approached, her eyes fierce and questioning. "The one who went to the city?" "I am," Kwabena replied cautiously. "I'm Amma. Your grandfather couldn't save my brother 8 years ago. Or so he claimed." Her voice carried an edge that cut through the market noise. "Kwesi disappeared the same night he went to your grandfather for treatment." Kwabena felt a chill. 8 years ago, around the same time of the final journal entry. "I'm sorry about your brother, but 7 children have disappeared from surrounding villages in the past month," she interrupted. "All after seeking help from traditional healers. What are you suggesting?" Amma leaned closer. "The elders speak of the Mmotia, the forest dwarfs with backward feet. They say the elders made bargains with them, knowledge for payment." Before Kwabena could respond, screams erupted from across the marketplace. A mother wailing, her child nowhere to be found. Only tiny footprints leading away from her stall. Footprints that appeared to walk backward. That night, Kwabena pretended to sleep, but watched through barely opened eyes as his grandfather silently left the compound. He followed at a distance, tracking him deep into the forest. In a moonlit grove, Elder Mensa knelt before a massive ancient tree, its trunk hollow and pulsing with an unnatural light. Around him materialized small shadowy figures with feet turned backwards, their eyes gleaming like fireflies. "The bargain must be honored," a voice hissed. Whether from one or all of the creatures, Kwabena could not tell. "We have given you knowledge beyond mortal men. The forest dies from the outsider's poison. We need more hearts to sustain it." "I have brought offerings," Elder Mensa pleaded, presenting rare herbs and sacrificial animals. "Not enough!" The shadows writhed angrily. "The final payment comes due. Your grandson or 7 others. This was our agreement." "Please," the old man begged. "Take me instead. My heart is too old, too corrupted with guilt." The shadows drew closer. "We have already begun taking what we are owed. Listen." Elder Mensa pressed his ear to the hollow tree, and even from his hiding place, Kwabena could hear it. The unmistakable sound coming from inside the wood. The sound of a child's beating heart. Kwabena gasped involuntarily. The shadows turned as one, their eyes finding him in the darkness. "The marked one returns," they whispered. "He bears our sign already." Kwabena ran, branches whipping his face. But when he looked down at his chest in the moonlight, he saw wooden patterns spreading beneath his skin like roots seeking his heart. A pharmaceutical representative arrived in the village. Dr. Owusu wore an expensive suit and a practiced smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Elder Mensa, your remedies are remarkable. Our company is prepared to offer you a very generous contract for exclusive rights." Kwabena watched his grandfather's face carefully. The old man should have rejected such an offer immediately. He had always spoken against selling traditional knowledge. Instead, He smiled. I will consider it. My grandson will assist with arrangements. He understands the city ways better than I. Later, alone in the hut, Kwabena confronted him. I saw you last night. With them. The Mmotia. Elder Mensa froze, then slowly turned. The wooden patterns on his arms were now plainly visible, no longer hidden by his robes. Then you know why I must accept their offer. The pharmaceutical company will send you away from here, away from them. The journal said I was meant to be taken, that you substituted another boy. Kwabena's voice shook. What, was it Amma's brother? His grandfather collapsed into the chair, suddenly looking ancient beyond his years. Your mother was dying during childbirth. I begged the Mmotia for a cure. They saved her, but they demanded her firstborn as payment. Tears filled the old man's eyes. When the time came to honor the bargain, I couldn't bear it. I sent another boy in your place. The forest accepted the substitute, but the balance was broken. And my parents? Did they really die in an accident? Elder Mensa looked away. They discovered what I had done. They went into the deep grove to break the pact. The forest defended itself. Kwabena backed away in horror. You let them die! I had no choice! The knowledge I possess comes with a price. For generations, our family has served as intermediaries. The Mmotia share their ancient wisdom of healing plants, and in return, you give them children's hearts! Kwabena finished, disgust clear in his voice. Not how you think, the old man sighed. The hearts remain beating inside the children. The Mmotia bind them to the ancient trees, creating a living network. The children don't die, they transform. They become part of the forest consciousness, and in return, the forest sustains our medicines. That's monstrous! It's balance! Elder Mensa shouted, standing suddenly. But now, the forest is dying from these outsiders' chemicals and logging. The old agreements are failing, and the Mmotia demand more hearts to heal the damage, or else everyone will suffer when the medicinal plants lose their power. Kwabena felt sick. And this pharmaceutical company? What do they really want? They've discovered the power in the heart trees. They don't just want the plants. They want to harvest the very essence that makes the medicines work. I have to stop this. Kwabena turned to leave. You can't fight what's already begun, Elder Mensa called after him. You've looked at your chest, haven't you? You were marked at birth. The forest has already begun reclaiming what was promised. Kwabena tore open his shirt to find wooden patterns spreading across his chest, centering over his heart. Amma found him at the edge of the village, staring into the forest depths. 7 more children disappeared last night, she said, without greeting. From villages where the company has started taking samples. I know where they are, Kwabena said hollowly. But you won't believe me. Try me. My brother's footprints walked backwards before they disappeared. Kwabena told her everything about the Nkuya, the Mmotia, the heart trees, his grandfather's terrible bargain, and how her brother had been substituted in his place. He expected her to scream, to attack him, to blame him for her brother's fate. Instead, she simply nodded, eyes filled with unshed tears. The elders speak of such things in whispers. I've suspected for years. But why now? Why so many children at once? Before Kwabena could answer, screams erupted from the village. They ran back to find Elder Mensa collapsed in the central square, his body half transformed into wood, roots erupting from his skin. The forest is dying, he gasped when Kwabena reached him. The company, They've begun harvesting the heart trees. The children are dying with them. Across the village, other people were collapsing. Those who had consumed Elder Mensa's remedies most frequently. Their bodies convulsed as wooden patterns spread across their skin. The medicines connect us all to the forest, the old man wheezed. As it dies, so do we. Dr. Owusu appeared, no longer pretending friendliness. Fascinating reaction. Their symbiotic connection is stronger than we calculated. You knew, Kwabena accused. You knew about the children. Of course we knew. Why do you think we are here? These heart trees contain compounds that could revolutionize medicine. The loss of a few village children is statistically insignificant compared to the millions we could help. Those hearts belong to children! Amma lunged at him but was restrained by his security team. No one will believe your backward superstitions. Owusu smirked. We already have all the permits. The harvesting continues tomorrow. Elder Mensa grasped Kwabena's wrist with wooden fingers. Only you can stop this. You bear the mark. The forest recognizes you as one of its own. Go to the deep grove. Find the first tree, but hurry. Once the transformation completes, you will no longer be human enough to return. Kwabena looked down at his chest, where the wooden patterns now pulsed with each heartbeat. I'll go with you, Amma said firmly. The forest will kill you, Elder Mensa warned. My brother is in there, she replied. I have nothing to lose. The deep grove was ancient beyond reckoning, and with each step, Kwabena felt the wooden patterns spread further across his body. Amma followed silently, her determination masking her fear. The trees are watching us, she whispered. And she was right. I seemed to peer from every knot and hollow, and occasionally a small figure would flit between the trunks, always just at the edge of vision. They reached a clearing where 7 massive trees stood in a circle. Each tree had a hollow opening in its trunk, and from each hollow came the unmistakable sound of a beating heart. The children, Amma breathed, approaching one tree cautiously. As she touched the bark, a face formed in the wood, a child's face, neither fully human nor fully tree. Kwesi? Amma's voice broke. The face in the wood seemed to recognize her, the features shifting into something closer to her brother's. But before it could respond, the ground trembled violently. They're here, Kwabena said, turning to see Dr. Owusu and his team entering the clearing with harvesting equipment. Stop! Kwabena shouted. You don't understand what you're doing! We understand perfectly, Owusu replied coldly. These heart trees contain the most valuable pharmaceutical compound ever discovered. The forest has somehow bound human life essence to its own cellular structure. Those are children! Those were children, Owusu corrected. Now, they are a resource. As his team began setting up equipment, the forest erupted in chaos. The Mmotia appeared in dozens, their tiny bodies swarming like angry wasps. But the company workers barely reacted, simply donning protective gear. We've dealt with the forest guardians before, Owusu explained. Chemical deterrents work quite effectively. The Mmotia fell back, shrieking in pain as the workers sprayed them. The heart trees began to tremble, their rhythms becoming erratic. Kwabena felt each disrupted heartbeat as his own, the wooden patterns now covering most of his body. He knew he had moments of humanity left. In desperation, he stepped forward and pressed his transforming hand against the largest heart tree, the first tree. I am the promised one, he declared. I offer myself willingly, not as payment, but as a bridge. The forest went silent. Then suddenly, roots erupted from the ground, wrapping around Kwabena's legs. The wooden patterns on his skin flowed like liquid, racing to his heart. No! Amma cried, trying to pull him free. It's the only way, Kwabena gasped. The balance must be restored. As the transformation overtook him, Kwabena's consciousness expanded. He could feel every tree, every plant, every beating heart bound to the forest. He understood at last why the Mmotia had made their ancient pact with his ancestors, not out of cruelty, but necessity. The forest medicines could not exist without the living essence of humanity, just as humanity could not survive without the forest's gifts. With this last human thought, Kwabena reached out, not just with his mind, but with the power of the forest now flowing through him. Roots shot from the ground around Dr. Owusu and his team, not attacking, but revealing. Each worker suddenly heard the beating hearts inside the trees, felt the children's consciousness, experienced their terror and pain. More than that, they felt their own connection to the forest. How the air they breathed, the water they drank, the food they ate, all tied them to this ancient cycle of giving and taking. Owusu fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the sudden understanding. Kwabena's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The forest does not belong to you. You belong to the forest, as we all do. The transformation completed. Where Kwabena had stood was now a new head tree, its trunk bearing his face. But unlike the others, his eyes remained aware, conscious, purposeful. Amma approached slowly, tears streaming down her face. Kwabena, the bargain is remade, his voice whispered from the wood. Not taking whole hearts, but sharing them, not through force, but a mutual understanding. Around them, the children's heart trees began to change. The faces in the wood smiled as the heartbeats synchronized into a single powerful rhythm. The children will return in time, Kwabena's tree voice explained. Changed, but still human. The forest will release them once balance is restored. Dr. Owusu and his team backed away, their harvesting equipment abandoned. What have we done? Owusu whispered. You sought to take without giving, came Kwabena's reply. But now you understand the price of knowledge. In the village, Elder Mensa felt the change ripple through him. The wooden transformation halted, then slowly receded. The forest had accepted a new guardian. Amma placed her hand on Kwabena's tree bark. I will make them understand. I will protect the balance. And I will wait, Kwabena's voice whispered as his features began to recede into the wood. The forest is patient. It has always been and always will be. As dawn broke, the villagers entered the forest for the first time without fear, led by Elder Mensa and Amma. They came not to take, but to listen. And in the heartbeat of the trees, they heard the rhythm of their own existence, the undeniable truth that all life shares one pulse, one breath, and one heart. In the deep grove, 7 small children with wooden patterns on their chests waited to be led home, their eyes filled with ancient wisdom and their feet now facing forward. But in the hollow of each ancient tree, a heart continued to beat, binding human to forest in an eternal covenant of life. We all consume what the earth provides. We all leave our mark upon this world, but what price are we willing to pay for the knowledge we seek, the things we want? What part of ourselves, our humanity, are we willing to sacrifice at the altar of progress? If you discovered your comfort came at the cost of another's heart, would you choose differently? Or would you, like Dr. Owusu, decide some sacrifices are statistically insignificant? Share your thoughts in the comments below. After all, in this forest of voices and folk tales from African mythology, every heartbeat matters, even yours.